Hello. Um, I guess I look a bit different because one of my ladies here decided to practice makeup on me, and this is it. Well, today I'm continuing on the subject self-deception, and today I'm going to be focusing on the impact of deceiving yourself or somebody deceiving the person's self on the mental health, because that's where I will always go. And then in the final video, I'll talk about ways one can desist from such things that affect us. All right, so why do I always have to talk about your mental health? Because your mental health, right? The virality of your mental health affects your, in quote, your spirituality. So you don't want to find somebody who is supposed to be a spiritual person, but the person has behavioral issues. So I'll talk about 3 to 4 different things that deceiving yourself or deceiving oneself, or if I'm deceiving myself, what it can mean to my mental health. So first of all, self-deception increases anxiety. How? Because when you're deceiving yourself, what normally happens is that people around you know, and sometimes they just play along with you, and every time you have to be something else. Just the thought of trying to be something else, trying to be what you are not, giving off an impression of who you are, of who you are not, it causes a lot of mental stress, which is not worth it. Secondly, it makes you to have a negative self-image of yourself, and sometimes it can even cause what you call cognitive dissonance, because you know who you are, but you're trying to project another image of who you are not, right? Probably so that you'll be accepted, or so that you can fit into the social media image that you have seen. So that back and forth, it causes some negativity about yourself, and it even makes you not to feel good about yourself. Another thing that deceiving yourself does is that it breaks trusts. People can't trust you. You know why? Because if you live in self-deceit, it simply shows that you don't even trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, on what basis will somebody else trust you? Do you understand what I mean? And then another challenge is that when people live in self-deceit, I try as much as possible not to say you. Do you understand? Because I'm talking to us. When people live in self-deceit, or when people deceive themselves about themselves, it makes it difficult for them to take corrections, and it makes it difficult for them to grow, because it's basically one of the proponents of a fixed mindset. Now, because people live in self-deception, which, like I've already said earlier, is a coping mechanism. It's something that requires empathy, right? It causes, I think I wrote it down, a feeling of isolation and loneliness, because every time you are by yourself, like trying to create that other image. So every time you are in a place, and you're trying to maneuver how you will look, how you will speak, how this will happen. So many times, because of that struggle, you find yourself being by yourself, unable to interact, and you are the person who is doing that is the person who is causing the same problem for the person's self. And these things are not good for anybody's mental health. Like I've already talked about, it can cause depression. And when people live in deception, what normally happens is that it reduces their ability to thrive, and so they start coping. And some of those coping mechanisms, on top of the fact that self-deception is already a coping mechanism, is you have avoidance behaviors. You can begin to depend on substance, and then that's where I will end here by saying that that's why you see a lot of people, when you see them in real life, the social media presence that they project, you'll be asking yourself, what's going on here? Why? Because every time there is a need to be somebody else, there is a need to be something else. My belief is that you are the most important person in the whole equation. And I don't think, excuse me, I don't think it's worth it putting yourself under that type of pressure. And I understand why people do it, right? So in the next one, it is already long. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about how we can overcome self-deception or trying to be who we are not. Again, I always end my video by saying, you are the most important person in the equation. My professor, Professor Merino, will always say, you are the most important tool in the box. And because we don't want you to continue to stay in a place where you're coping, we want you to thrive. And you can thrive. Because she always says also that trauma is treatable if you agree to do the work. See you.